If you've been monitoring the events in Parliament since the election, you may be quite right in wondering, do we actually have an opposition party? When was the last time you even heard a peep from Rishi Sunak? And if you do watch any events in Parliament that are televised, once again, you would be quite right in asking yourselves, which ones are the Conservatives and which ones are the Labour MPs? Because you can't tell the difference. They are indeed a uniparty. And as Nigel Farage quite rightly said a few weeks ago at the election, we did not elect a new government, we simply elected new middle management. And they have clearly turned up the screws to implement the will of their paymasters. We all know very well that they are punishing opinion and thoughts rather than violent crime. Indeed, they are releasing violent criminals so that they can imprison those who've expressed an opinion, good or bad. They should be entitled to their opinion. At the end of the day, it could be argued that mainstream media has done more to incite division, polarisation, and ultimately violence with their biased point of view over the years than any individual who has just simply said, I don't like them, kick their heads in. That effectively means that that person has incited violence. What an insult that is to the population. Because what we are being told is that if somebody says something along those lines online, that we all just think, oh, Joe Bloggs said do this, so let's go and do it, as though we don't have a mind of our own. And ultimately, as we all know, most of you who are watching this right now should be ashamed of yourselves because you are far right. And if you express any opinion that contradicts the narrative, then they are out to get you. Who would have ever thought that we would reach this point? It is now more important than ever that we collectively support and help to structure a formidable opposition. And on that note, I think we can all agree that the Reform Party is on the right track. My personal argument that I was campaigning for was the democratisation of the party. And even though it was in the plans, I don't know if I'm alone here, but I have this foreboding sense of urgency. And I want to see this in place as soon as possible. We need an army of people to fight for freedom, to fight to free our country from the enslavement of this infernal Marxist ideology very, very quickly. Because if we don't, every day that goes by, it will become more and more difficult to express any opinion that contradicts the narrative. So for me, it is democracy that matters more than anything, because we have not had democracy. We have had the symbolism and the illusion of democracy. But in a country the size of the UK, where we have to have representative democracy rather than direct democracy, how many of us are actually ever represented by our members of parliament? That is why we need to fight for change, and that is why I fervently believe that all candidates should be elected by local members, and those local members should be involved, they should be engaged, they should have a voice, and they must be heard, because it is only with a true structure of democracy that a country can be saved from the dangers of tyrannical dictatorship in whatever form that may manifest itself. And I'm delighted that it was announced by Zia that they'll be putting all of these measures in place very, very quickly. I understand that the structure is going to be announced at the conference later this month. So now is the time to get behind this party, get behind your local candidate, join, keep up to date with what is happening, get involved when candidates are being selected, elected, when they're having their meetings, because this cannot be done without you, the public. And it is for you that these people are fighting for. And I can say this as somebody who stood for the party. I can say that all of the other candidates who I met were everyday people who had no plans to ever be politicians. Many of them are older people. Many of them have retired or don't need to work or have their own businesses, and they have actually stood out on a ledge to fight against what is happening. And that ledge can be quite a daunting place to be. I've never ever experienced as much hostility as I did before, during and after the election. But guess what? I don't care. Initially annoyed me. I take it as a compliment. And I'm actually entertained when I see yet another tweet that has been attributed to me that I have no clue where it appeared from. But if they're resorting to those measures, that means that they are scared. And therein lies the irony, because for most of us, what we are fighting for are not changes that may directly affect us being older. The main focus, certainly for myself, is to change things for younger people, because I find it disgraceful that young people cannot buy a house. I find it disgraceful that people in the workplace are in a situation where they struggle to raise their head above national minimum pay. And those who are either educated or studied in particular trade are at risk of their salaries being halted or even falling back because of this incessant demand for unlimited labour. How do you make any commodity or product worth less? By making it much more available. And it is also ironic how the party that was formed to represent the working classes is actually fighting for measures to make the working classes less valuable to the workplace and less valuable in terms of their remuneration in pay. I do believe that, and I'm not the only one, that the Labour Party has lost the working class forever after its recent behaviour. In addition to that, having taken away the winter heating allowance, fuel allowance from pensioners is clear evidence of just how far down the road of evil they have ventured. Therefore, support reform, support your local candidate, get involved. It doesn't matter if you don't agree with everything. There is the core foundation, and look at the core foundation, what the party wants. We don't want people earning under £20,000 to be paying tax. We don't want small businesses to be blighted by business rates, by VAT. We want to help SMEs to be able to have more opportunity to grow. Look at the facts, look at the proposals, look at the funding, and ask yourselves, which party really does care about the people of this country, and which parties have only one allegiance: to Davos. Thank you very much. Bye bye for now. See you next time.